Ambition's Enterprise Management Co LLC is currently trading at $9.98 per share on the NASDAQ, marking a massive intraday surge of $4.70, which brings the stock up 89.02% today. This is the kind of price action that stops every trader in their tracks, turning a relatively quiet Dubai-based tourism and event management player into the single most talked about ticker on the board this afternoon. When you see a move like this, the immediate instinct for most people using a Fidelity mobile app or checking their Robinhood stock trading account is to assume we are looking at a classic pump and dump or a low-float momentum play with no foundation. However, the reality behind this move is far more complex and tied to the structural shift in the Middle Eastern hospitality sector than the headlines might suggest. While retail traders on various investing sites are scrambling to chase the green candles, the actual driver here appears to be a delayed market reaction to the company's recent capture of major government-level service contracts in the United Arab Emirates, combined with a float so tight that any significant buy order sends the price into orbit. Most investors look at a small cap like AHMA and expect it to behave like a lottery ticket, assuming that if it isn't moving like Tesla stock or showing the institutional stability of Apple stock, then it must be purely speculative. But the expectation that this is just a fleeting moment of volatility misses the fact that Ambition's Enterprise Management has actually been profitable, reporting triple-digit net income growth in their most recent half-year filings. The gap between what the market thinks, that this is a random micro-cap fluke, and the reality that this is a strategically positioned service provider in the world's fastest-growing tourism hub is where the real opportunity and the real risk lives. If you are sitting there with your Interactive Brokers platform open watching these one-minute candles, you are seeing the result of a massive imbalance between supply and demand. The volume today has been staggering, far exceeding the 90-day average. We are seeing millions of shares change hands in a stock that usually sees a fraction of that activity. This suggests that the stock has finally broken out of its post-IPO accumulation phase. Remember, this company only hit the NASDAQ back in October 2025 at a $4 price point. Since then, it has been a quiet grind, but today's nearly 90% move represents a total re-rating of the company's valuation. When you look at the order flow through a Fidelity brokerage or a SoFi trading platform, you can see that the bid-ask spread has been widening and snapping back aggressively, a hallmark of a stock that is being reevaluated in real time. This isn't just about people looking for investment help, it's about a fundamental shift in how the market views the MICE sector, meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions, within the Dubai economy. If we look at the broader macro environment, the reason AHMA is outperforming the likes of NVIDIA stock today is because it serves as a pure-play proxy for the physical expansion of Dubai as a global business hub. While the big tech names are dealing with interest rate sensitivities and high valuation compression, AHMA is operating in a localized boom. They provide the ground-level infrastructure for massive international summits and high-net-worth tourism. For the self-investing crowd using Robinhood investments or SoFi stocks to build a diversified portfolio, seeing a company with only 43 employees generate this much market cap expansion in 6 hours is a reminder of why microcaps remain so attractive despite the inherent dangers. Comment below how many shares of AHMA you currently hold, or if you think this price action is sustainable through the end of the week. I want to hear your take on whether you are buying the dip or taking profits here. The technicals on the intraday chart are showing a classic parabolic arc, but what's interesting is the lack of a major retracement so far. Usually, after an 80% move, you'd expect a 50% fib pullback as day traders using Robinhood crypto or fractional shares move on to the next shiny object. Instead, AHMA is holding its gains near the $10 mark, suggesting that there is institutional or high-net-worth sticky buying happening behind the scenes. This isn't just retail frenzy, it looks like someone is building a position. For those using an individual brokerage account or an interactive broker's account to execute trades, the key level to watch is that $10 psychological barrier. If it flips $10 from resistance to support, the sky is the limit because the overhead supply from the IPO is virtually non-existent at these levels. Taking a step back to look at what Ambition's Enterprise Management actually does, they are essentially the fixers for the UAE's tourism ambitions. They handle everything from transportation and hotel bookings to the actual management of large-scale corporate events. Their business model is lean, focusing on high-margin service contracts rather than capital-intensive asset ownership. This is why their return on equity looks so much more attractive than traditional travel agencies. In their last report for the period ending June 2025, revenue was up 14% to nearly $10 million, but the operating income skyrocketed by 164%. That kind of operating leverage is exactly what professional investors look for when they are scanning investing sites for the next big runner. They are able to grow their bottom line much faster than their top line because they've streamlined their office procedures and enhanced employee efficiency, as noted by their CFO, Li Zhang. For those of you managing your own portfolios through Schwab Intelligent Portfolios or a SoFi Robo-Advisor, you probably won't find AHMA in your automated baskets because it's too small and volatile for those algorithms. This is where the manual, active investing through a Fidelity trading platform or Robinhood app gives the individual a distinct edge. You can see the news, analyze the volume, and move faster than a large fund could. The reality of the situation is that Dubai is aiming to become one of the top 3 global cities for tourism and business by 2033. Ambition's Enterprise Management is positioned right at the throat of that cash flow. They recently served as the preferred partner for the World Chinese Entrepreneurs Convention, which is a massive signal of their standing in the regional market. However, we have to talk about the risks. Trading a stock that is up 89% in a single day is like playing with fire while standing in a pool of gasoline. The volatility is extreme and the bid can disappear in a heartbeat. If you are using interactive brokers' fees to your advantage by scalping these moves, you know that execution speed is everything. The expectation is that the stock will continue to moon, but the reality is that we are now trading at a price-to-earnings ratio that is exceptionally high. While the growth justifies a premium, a PE over 400 is something that even the most bullish investors using Fidelity Wealth Management would find difficult to stomach for a long-term hold. This is currently a momentum story, not a value story. If you are looking for online investing opportunities that offer more than just the standard index fund returns, you have to be willing to look at these under-the-radar companies. Most people are too busy looking at what NVIDIA stock is doing to notice that a small UAE event manager just doubled its value in a single session. This is the essence of why people use SoFi Active Investing or Fidelity IRAs to take controlled risks. You want to find the reality before the rest of the market catches up to the expectation. Right now, the expectation is catching up to the reality of AHMA's growth, and that's why we are seeing this explosion. Institutional ownership is still incredibly low, which is actually a double-edged sword. On one hand, there is no big whale to dump millions of shares on your head. On the other hand, there isn't much liquidity if you need to exit a large position quickly. For those using a Fidelity brokerage account, you might notice that the analyst coverage on this stock is basically zero. You are your own analyst here. You have to look at the SEC filings, understand the MICE industry in the Middle East, and decide if a $150 million market cap is too low for a company that is the preferred partner for international conventions in Dubai. As we look toward the future, the catalysts for AHMA are clear. They have their next earnings report tentatively scheduled for May 2026, but the real news will come from the announcement of new service contracts. Every time a major convention is announced for the business village in Dubai, AHMA is a likely beneficiary. If you are using the Robinhood mobile app to track your stocks, keep an eye on the UAE's tourism calendar. That is your leading indicator for AHMA's revenue. The company is also expanding its reach into Jordan, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, which means they are moving from a single market player to a regional powerhouse. This diversification reduces the risk of being tied purely to Dubai's economy, which is a smart move by CEO Zhang Tang. In summary, what we are seeing today with Ambition's Enterprise Management Co LLC is a classic case of a small-cap stock finally being discovered by the broader market. The intraday move to $9.98, up over 89%, is a violent reaction to a company that was arguably undervalued given its growth trajectory and profitability in a booming sector. The expectation was that AHMA would stay a quiet, illiquid IPO that nobody cared about. The reality is its strategic positioning in the Dubai MICE sector has made it an incredibly efficient engine for profit growth. Whether you are using SoFi Invest, Fidelity Mutual Funds, or you are a die-hard self-investing